Good evening, and welcome again to Public Perspective. And for those who have lived in the Chicago area for a long time, probably know, we are known as a city of neighborhoods and lots of ethnic nationalities. And we've come together in the melting pot of Greater Chicago. So our guests tonight are representing one of those communities, the Albanian American Women's Association of Greater Chicago. So Lydia Memeti,
Yes.
Luma Asanoski, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Well, so let's start with the basics. What is the association and why does it exist? What do you guys do? What services do you provide?
Do you want me to get started? So the Albanian American Women's Association of Greater Chicago, part of our mission includes helping our fellow Albanian American women community. And so the purpose really was to just help in any aspect. Elementary, like services such as like clothing, shelter, food, and beyond that with fundraising and networking opportunities, education. So a lot of our work relates around, education, helping folks with, shelter and food, and then also creating this community where they feel like they're being supported.
So how much need is there for, particularly things like shelter and food? I mean, how common is that?
Kevin, there's a lot of need. The reason this association got created, because as Albanian community here, we're very, not very large group, but not small neither. It's a good population.
A few thousand here in Chicago, 10 or 15,000?
More than that. I would say in Illinois probably 60 to 70,000 in Illinois, in different parts of Illinois. I've been in the country from 1974. And as
You're an American now, full-fledged, right?
I'm American, definitely. When I first arrived to the country, there was nothing there that you need to go and get support. So as the time went on, I became a real estate broker, and I'm still serving the community. I looked at that community was always thirsty for a good organization to help people. So we started helping them, as Luma pointed out, from me finding the housing, direct them to jobs, even the kids in school to go ahead and accept the pictures. Some of them, they don't even speak English. So our association does provide a lot of help to the community, quite a few.
So when you came to the United States, did you speak English and did you know what you were going to do?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all.
So how did you get here? Did your parents bring you in and say,
yes.
Here you are?
My dad was here before me, and of course I was married with my husband. But there was not much support at all from anyone, because of course the community wasn't that big. And you come in and you struggle for everything, for jobs, for English, for pretty much everything, going to the new country, migrating. So a lot of the newcomers, they have no direction where to start when they first come to the country. So
sure,
as the
just how
time went on,
to start to acclimate to a brand new culture, right? Not just a language, but things in every country are different.
Everything. Right. So people struggle for English, learn English. They're struggling for housing, jobs, just pretty much anything, I would say. And because not being that large of community, we don't have all the facilities in place except surviving one from another. So.
Now, you mentioned when we were talking prior to the show about a radio show that you used to do and how that was kind of the focal point of the community.
Yeah, radio show was Radio Yet, that was sponsored by my son, Nick Memeti, and of course me and my husband. And we had that for 7 years, 6 days a week, 2 hours a day live show. And it really bring the community together. We gelled up so much around that. But when the market kind of went pretty bad in 2008, we had to let go. And after that, everything was kind of quiet. Nobody knows where they're at, because the only place you go out to meet people, they'll be in religious institution, churches or mosques. So that is okay, but to have something on the side for us, we really need organization. And that's where I was born.
So Luma, though, you were born and raised here in the United States.
I was.
So what's your connection back to the community, and why did you think it was important to create this organization?
Well, I think what prompted us to even co-found the organization was Lydia called me and said, we need something for our community. as in particular are women. And so, you know, like she said, the radio had closed down, and there were folks that needed help, and women in particular, right? So they had immigrated. They maybe didn't have, you know, the necessary education or, you know, options for housing or even getting a job. And so I came into play helping primarily because I'm an attorney, so that's my background, to incorporate the organization. So I thought I would be a little bit more behind the scenes.
Surprise.
Surprised I wasn't, right? And so, and I think that's the reason, you know, Lydia had reached out, is to kind of get it at least started, the organization. And we have it registered as a non-for-profit and a charitable organization. So I think with just creating the organization, being able to then reach out to the community and fundraise. And
For what? Why would what do you raise funds in order to do?
to give back to those who are in need.
In order
So-
to keep the association going, right?
Yeah, and actually a lot of, you know, we within the organization do not get paid as the
All
board
volunteer
members.
work.
It's all volunteer. So everything that we raise, we have an annual charity. Well, it's actually a fundraiser. It's a concert where we get the most amount of funds.
Women's International.
We do it for Women's International Day. So every spring we host a concert, and that's where we get the most amount of funds to be able to give back to the community. So when we're helping women who have come out of a women's shelter, we've had that before, where we've put the young lady on her feet, getting her housing, setting her up with a job.
Now, do you need any particular licensing from the state in order to do these things, or particular training in social work, anything like that, in order to lend this help?
No.
No?
No, we're really just a bunch of women trying to help other
Trying to help
women.
each other.
As simple as that. We're just really trying to give back. So we'll hold clothing drives, we'll host food drives. We've actually hosted a health and wellness clinic where we've reached out to doctors that we know to host a clinic where Albanians who may not have health care could come in and get at least, you know, their blood pressure checked and
So it's the Women's Association. How do the problems differ from women to men? I mean, certainly immigrants, any immigrant is going to face many of the same problems. So what specifically drew you to helping the women as opposed to making a larger approach or larger outreach?
Well, specifically, most of these women, when they come migrate from the country, they come as a family. Majority of the women, they don't even drive.
Oh, that would be a drawback here.
Yeah. Well, we had one of the girls, one of the directors, she will go specifically, you know, train them, get them through things so they can go out and start driving. We also have a board member that she helps with job placements. And that's what we do, Luma and I, or all of us. We help get them jobs, because the most important is to get them jobs as soon as they come in.
Yeah.
Other than that, they can survive. So
Yeah, everything else becomes easier once they've got a paycheck. Right?
yes, once they got a paycheck and housing and so on.
And I think it's a little bit different, just to kind of go back to your question, between the men and the women. I think that as women, we want to, in particular with me and Lydia, you know, being
Empower them a little bit.
you know, being a young mom and being able to, you know, get her brokering license and
I
be
had to
able
break
to
the ice at one point.
Right, to break really ceilings. And I think that within our community, I think just women in general, within the Albanian culture, a lot of it is family-based, right? You're supported by your husband, and you're really raising a family. You know, a lot of women they're married at a young age, and that's really what your life should consist of. And I think that we need women like Lydia and people part of the organization to kind of be like role models for women who may have immigrated from Albania to be able to pursue their dreams.
Because it's a different, women have a much different role here in the United
Right,
States than in many
absolutely.
parts of the world.
And we need to break that ice, so our women need that too.
Right. They need to feel empowered.
You know, I like the idea of role models, that like whatever you're used to, there are other options here.
Right.
And by the way, take a look here, even the two of you, right? Successful real estate broker, successful attorney, and these are the kinds of things that may seem like a closed path to them back home. Or even here, when they get here, they may not know that that path is open, right? So that's kind of the idea, is to open their eyes to what's available and then help them along that path. So how long, if someone comes to you and is interested in your help, and what's the length of a typical association with someone? If someone comes as an immigrant and they don't know anything, or they need lots of things. do you, this is probably the wrong term, but do you ever kind of like graduate them from the program and say, hey, you're in good shape, call us if you need us?
We do. We do. Because we don't have a special office in a place so they can come there, we reach out directly to their homes. We'll go there and help out whatever. One is going to get involved job placement. She'll get involved on, you know, any documents they need to fill in or anything they need to, whatever they need for government, green cards or whatever help. She'll provide that. And all of us, we have our roles just to help them out as fast as we can, really. We graduate them in, I would say, a month.
And we have like long-standing relationships.
Yeah.
Then the folks that we
Relationship
initially
is get built for life.
we help them, and initially, then they become members of our organization.
Okay.
They attend our, you know, community gatherings, picnics, etc.
So tell me a little bit about Albanian culture. I mean, we all, kind of abstract, we all know that different countries have different cultures, but how do you see these differences lining up? What are some of the most significant discrepancies between American culture and Albanian culture?
You know, we're not a lot different than Americans, except we didn't have the tools to be Americans.
Okay.
Other than that, we're very open-minded. We are like 3 religions, I would say, but to us, like, as long as you're Albanian, religion never comes to a play. You know?
So it's not so the Albanian identity is
We're
much
just
more
Albanians.
Albanian.
That's important to us, that we're Albanians. Religion is secondary.
Secondary.
To us. No, it's not important. Whether you're Christian, Muslim, or Orthodox, to us it's Albanian. That we have no problems.
Actually, that's a remarkable thing if you think about it. In today's world, where religious identity seems to be getting more and more hardened, it's actually refreshing to hear that.
Not with us. I mean, other politicians went to our country and they said it on CNN that we're probably the only country that we have no problem with religions. Getting married, one another, as long as you're Albanian, you're fine. So we're not very different than Americans. Of course, we never had the tools that to be like Americans, but we're very easy to get adjusted also to the culture and everything.
Does the association also try to retain some elements of the culture, like the language, for example?
We do. Language is very important. We keep the traditions, the language, the stuff that we do around the community. It's we also have a school that kids go to learn during the daytime. On Sundays, I'm sorry. On Sundays they go to school. We have a lot of kids attending school to learn language. Albanian language.
Yeah, I was going to say our annual fundraiser, the concert that we host every year for International Women's Day, we actually bring in Albanian singers.
Stars from
Albania. So really, that's where we get immersed in our own culture, right? We're dancing in Albania. We're have a particular dance, the music, the food. So we're just very warm people. And so we want everyone to be very inclusive, right? We're very, very.
And
we talk with our hands a lot.
I know nothing about that. I
right,
never
you
do
know.
that, right?
Yeah, we do a very good crowd. We host anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 women in one room.
Wow.
It's all women's only.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
I won't
all
try to
women.
crash the party,
Yeah,
I
don't-
promise.
We may extend an invitation to you, though, Kevin.
I could be an honorary woman for the day?
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I think I've mentioned to you that I've done work with a Pakistani group that builds schools in health comes from Pakistan. And so they've decided that I'm an honorary Pakistani at this point as well.
That's
So,
nice.
yeah, so I can be an honorary woman, an honorary Pakistani.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, works for me. So what do you think is the most successful program that you guys have put in place?
You know what? I would say a lot of our classes, our
Classes
educational
and jobs.
classes and jobs. We actually host at least twice a month. We host like workshops where we do resumes, or we do how to work Excel or Word documents, right? Like elementary things, but I think that they're really important for folks that are really trying to kind of just make it and trying to get a job. And so I think that's probably been really successful for us. And then also our fundraiser, our annual fundraiser has been a huge success.
Sounds like it's fun, too,
Yeah,
right?
it really is.
So when you're putting together these programs, is it all volunteer teachers as well? So
It's all volunteer.
everybody from the community comes in.
Everybody from the
Absolutely.
community.
Yeah.
So like my sister's a teacher, and so you know, she's able to help in that aspect. I think that because we have so much diversity within our you know, women's organization. Lydia's a broker, right? She's real estate. I'm an attorney. We have other folks that, you know, are involved in real estate or the community that they're able to help and give back.
Yeah.
to
My daughter's a
specific needs.
dentist. She's
Yeah.
also volunteers a lot of her time.
Absolutely.
My daughter is a
Ah.
dentist,
Ah, yes.
and she also volunteers her time pretty well with us.
Yeah, that's something that, you know, in fact, when I've moved around the country a couple of times, and the first thing you realize in a new community, at least for me, is I need a new auto mechanic and I need a new dentist.
Dentist, right.
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 It's like, you got to get both of those covered or, you know, you're in trouble. So what's the plans to grow the organization, expand the organization? Where do you go from here?
We do have a very good plans to grow. Of course, we need a little bit more funds to grow.
Right.
Doesn't everyone?
Donors, yes. We do have. It's brought to our attention, there's, as much as in Chicago, the women need help. We also have some underserved communities in other parts of where Albanians are, women, so.
Like elsewhere in Illinois, for example?
Yes. Yes, so we haven't held a meeting for that exactly to do it, but we do have some other options that to expand and help out other women that a lot of them left after the war or something. There's just some other problems. So our goal is to help a little bit more expandable.
And I think that it's tough. Sometimes we want to give back, so really everything that we're fundraising, right? We do the concert, or we'll, you know, give back with the clothing drive or the food drives. It's so hard sometimes because we want to make sure, right? We've done a scholarship. We did that last year. So we did a scholarship where we encouraged all young Albanian women to apply, and we
For
were
college,
able
this is?
for college, yeah. And so we did it last year for the first time. So we were able to give a $2,000 scholarship award for the recipient. And so it's just like things like that that we really just need the resources, and we need the help from the community, donations, you know. And so for us, it's really just trying to give back what we actually fundraise.
And I would expect that because you've been in existence for several years now, that the alumni, people you've helped through, right, are an obvious market to try to go back to and say, you know, there are other
We
people
helped
going to
you.
need it. Yeah, pass it through.
Pass it through and pay it forward.
Pay it forward, right? Do you encounter any kind of resistance or pushback? You know, I mean, well, and I think you have the advantage of looking like everyday white Americans, right? I mean, really, I don't say that lightly. Where, you know, as I've mentioned before, I've spent a lot of time in the Chicago Muslim community, and many of them are dark-skinned. They are from, you know, a foreign country. They have a funny accent. You know, they may have the men with funny beard or whatever, and so they experience a lot of kind of societal pushback, and I think it's something that ends up creating further isolation rather than integration, because if you feel you're not welcome, well, then you would, you know, huddle together. Is there anything similar that you guys encounter?
Not that I experienced, no. I mean, I've been here a long time and never experienced anyone, let's say, discriminate. That almost never happened, really.
A very fortunate thing, right?
I never seen that. They'll tell me, oh, it's an accent. I say, oh, you understand my accent? Oh, it's cute, it's nice. I mean, I personally been here a long time, and I don't feel with pushback.
We tell them you're from New York or something, right?
No, I'm from Albania. Oh, where's it? You know, where's the country? And you explain, and no, I don't feel any pushback.
I mean, of course, you know, nobody would suspect that I'm an Albanian, right, American. I think that they just see me and they think, oh. And I think that, you know, as probably, you know, we have a little bit of privilege, being that, you know, we're
white Europeans,
right?
Europeans,
We have some level of privilege. And so I think that, you know, because we're so focused on like being so inclusive and like letting folks know about our culture, that helps. Like to be able
We're
to
very
kind of
open.
break stereotypes, right? So when I tell folks at work, oh yeah, well where do you, Lumturije, like that's such a unique name, like what is it? It's Albanian. It's a very popular Albanian name.
Is it really?
Yes, it is. It means happiness in
Oh.
Albanian. So
What a great name.
you know, and so when we talk about that, it's like breaking those stereotypes and talking about our culture.
Well, actually, it's very reassuring to hear that, and especially in America today, where we
Right.
seem to be finding
No, I
reasons to
don't
dislike
see it.
each other rather than
Right.
like. So, do you do outreach about the Albanian culture to the rest of America? I mean, you mentioned that because you're such a welcoming community, that it seems kind of natural. But is there any kind of formal outreach to say, hey, here's what people can learn from Albanian culture, or is it just more a matter of when you meet people, you're friendly and you're happy, right?
Well, we do outreach in certain places, like we have mosque and we also have a church. So we make sure that we do tell people what we're all about. And we encourage like dancing classes. We did just for women to come out and have salsa and Albanian folk. So we do Albanian folks
Oh,
with the
I'd like to
women
see
at
that.
different ages.
That would be
Ages
cool.
doesn't, no discrimination on age at all. They can come from 10 years old to 80,
80.
90. So
Yeah.
we do outreach, and the community knows about us quite a bit.
And Lydia and I were just talking about how in the future we want to host, we were just at a Turkish fest over the summer, and we said, this would be a good opportunity for Albanians because we have a large population in Chicago, that we could organize an Albanian fest in the Chicagoland area. What would include vendors, Albanian food, gifts or, souvenirs, etc.
So tell me about Albanian food. Now you're making me hungry.
It's
what's
amazing, no?
Well, what's an Albanian dish?
Well, I would say the most popular is beans and meat. Then we have like the burek. That's very popular. Burek and with the spinach, like spinach kopita.
Oh,
like
okay,
Greeks
like
have
Greek,
that.
yeah, right.
We make it differently in the whole thing, and of course the famous baklava.
It's from the region, right?
It's from the region.
Baklava is
From
Greek,
Albanian,
it's Turkish,
Turks, Greeks,
right.
all of us. It's
Yeah.
one thing, but it's our famous baklava. We made it from scratch. We don't buy the phyllos and make it from scratch. And
Oh, you even make the fallow dough from
we
scratch.
make the fallow doughs and we
do.
open it by hand.
Next
like
time
the
we do a
old-fashioned.
show, I want some of that here on this table.
We'll have to bring you
Yes,
some.
definitely.
We also, that's the famous food, I would say, pretty much.
That's really cool. And I've actually been to a number of these countries. I've been to Turkey and to Spain and sampled the various kinds of food there. And I was most impressed by the Turks, who I just didn't think in my, I always think, well, being American, I think, well, the French, they've cornered the market on cooking. But no, you go to these other countries and it's really interesting food.
Well, Kevin, my husband and I would travel a lot. To me, I would say right now, not because I'm on your show, I would say #1 in the world food has got Albania. Hands
Really?
on, hands on.
You'll have to visit.
You have to
Yeah.
visit. After the communist regime fell and they went out the country, all of these people learned different educations, and they took the cuisine from to Turkish to French to Americans, Italians, and they created one wealthy cuisine. And I would say the fish they cook in Albania is no place in the world. And I've been from Hawaii to Australia to different parts of the world.
So are
really
there-
good food. So if you have a chance, stop by and visit Albania.
Well, if I don't want to go quite that far for dinner tomorrow night, is there an
You get there
Albanian
in
restaurant?
summertime when everybody visits.
Oh.
We'll go there summertime. My husband and I. So
Okay.
it's a good place to visit. And great food. The hospitality is excellent. The people are very welcome. Of course, they love America. Hands on. They love America.
It's nice to know that there are still countries that love America.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I wonder.
It is, and the language predominantly it's Albanian, and English is right there.
So you can get by, go.
Absolutely.
Everyone speaks English.
Yeah.
At age 3 and up, speaks English.
Oh.
They teach it in school. So
Well, it's the language, as you know, it's the language of international business. So I would think if you're going to learn another language, that would be the one. But I still want to know if there are Albanian restaurants in the Chicago area. Anything?
there's few. Majority, they're like in Rockford, Wisconsin, a lot of them. when the market crashed, people were just kind of
yeah.
went away. But we do have some here in Chicago.
So if I do a Google search on Albanian
find
food,
a few
I
of
can
them,
find a few?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Few
well,
of
I'll have to put that on my list.
And we'll send you a list.
Okay, yeah, we can't advertise them here on the show. But,
That's okay. We'll make sure to send baklava.
yeah.
When I make
The
my
homemade,
baklava.
the homemade baklava.
Oh, well, you know where I work downtown,
We
right?
do.
You can just
Oh,
like
yeah.
drop it off
I'll
at the
have
office.
to, for sure.
Yeah, so in the near future, we also have, shortly actually, we have different women. They're going to start to show the young girls how to keep the culture to cook. Then we're going to get involved on that too.
We're hoping to do that
We're
because,
hoping
right,
very shortly.
as a first generation, I'll speak on behalf of my generation, my
You're
first
second generation, by the way. Lydia's first.
Oh, sorry, Lydia. Lydia's first.
Yes.
And so you know, when we think about it, we want to keep our culture intact, but it's hard to learn, right? We're focused on different things like our education and, you know, and I don't want to say assimilating to, you know, the American culture, but it's important to have these kind of things where Lydia can teach me, right, or can teach others how to do this.
And I'm interested about the language as well. So certainly you learn language, but you're the first generation born here, so that's pretty common. But then would your kids be expected to learn the language? And might they look at you and say, Mom, why do I have to do this?
I would hope that, you know, but I think that that's why it's important that we have a school that's actually teaching
On Sundays.
you know, our kids how to.
Yeah.
I have 6 grandkids, and they all speak, write and read in Albanian.
Really?
And my 3 kids, they write and read.
And they're pretty good at it?
Pretty good.
Yeah, okay.
They do. We cultivate the culture at home pretty much. We speak Albanian.
I've known friends of mine who have, like, in particular, one parent speaks Spanish and the other speaks English, and so they would raise their children with the one parent always speaking Spanish to the child and the other one always speaking English. And that way the child would grow up being truly bilingual, having heard both and learned from infancy how to handle both.
Yeah.
Apparently it takes the children a little longer to figure out what's going on
Sure,
here, but once they do, they're really good.
Kevin, you don't have to force English. It's English. You don't
Yeah.
have to force that. Forcing another language, it's a little bit hard to get through. And our kids spoke perfectly Albanian.
And they never pushed back, they said,
Well,
Mom.
they say, well, this is America. We understand. We want you to learn. But then when they grow up, they really appreciate it. Like my son, he was younger when I was pushing the Albanian. He goes, well, Mom, I'm American. I said, I understand. But you need to know this. When he got onto the business, he opened a mortgage company that he owns. I loan now. And he happened to carry to a lot of Albanians. He was the biggest mortgage broker that he carried to them. So he says, Mom, thank you for teaching me Albanian, because most of the Albanians came from the country. They don't speak the English, by the way.
Wow. Well, you know, believe it or not, on that note, we're already out of time. But I've learned so much about Albanian culture from both of you. I really appreciate your being here.
Thank you for
Thank you very much for having us.
Well, I
We
wish you the
enjoyed
best of
your
luck.
show.
And we'll just have to all get together and have some Albanian food. Now you're really making me hungry.
We
so-
will do that.
All right. So
We
thank
will
you
do
again
that. Thank
for
you.
being my guest. And thank you for joining us once again on Public Perspective. I'm your host, Kevin McDermott. You can find us every Saturday night at 8 on Comcast Channel 19, or see us on the web at publicperspective.tv. So until next time, thank you and good night.